Okay, let us pray.
Glasses are on your head.
Yeah. Let's pray. Father, we just come before you tonight because we want to celebrate marriage the way you made it. And we just want to kind of just love on our spouses, Father. And then together we want to love you. And so we just ask tonight that everyone had a great time. And I thank you for all the servants that come out and help today, and everyone that volunteered. And just ask you just keep on blessing their lives as well. And I pray for the marriages tonight. As I share life tonight, Lord, that you would give some wisdom, you would share some wisdom that's been throughout the years, and they could take it home and use it in their marriages. Thank you, Father. Amen. Amen. Okay, so I got some disclosures. I can't see everything behind me, but I guess it's going to be up there. First is I'm not yelling. This is my normal voice. So if you think I'm yelling, then, it's not, because you'll probably agree with my wife and kids that Dad's always yelling when he opens his mouth. Really, this is my normal voice. So I'm sure maybe some of you guys out there like that have the same voice that I do. Second, words may affect my emotions. So it may look like that I might be tearing up and crying, but I'm still that same tough guy that I am right now. And if you don't believe me, you can ask my wife. Hey, it's okay, just go ahead. Really? Looks like he's not so tough now, but I am. 3. The story is true. The name has not been changed to protect the innocent. They didn't care, I guess. We're going to let you know. 4, and it's like it's been said before, my wife Robin has permission to interrupt me at any time. I gave her that permission, but she can say she hasn't. It's anytime she wants to walk up and just jump in, it's okay. 5, I'm not a paid professional. I don't get paid for this. Really, I'm Larry the Cable Guy. 5 days out of the week. So I apologize now if I offend anyone. And just like don't be sending emails to Pastor Dave and Mark. You got a problem, send them to me. And they don't want to hear about how bad I did up here. They just tell me and I'll take it in stride.
What's your email address?
Who is this? It's there. Anyhow, you just call me up. You know what? Before I start, you mind if I get into character? Because, man, this tie is... Just a second here. Let me take this tie off here.
Babysitter.
I told somebody tonight when they came in, they needed a tie, they didn't have one. I said, I'll give you that tie, man. You need that tie? I give you that tie. Was it you, Harold? Yeah, I told you I would. Oh, man, it feels a lot better. Oh. Now, where am I at? Okay. How many of you read or attended the following? The 5 Love Languages by Grace Chapman? Yeah. Love and Respect by Emerson Anchorage? Yes? Yeah. Oh, my wife's waving at me.
You have 6.
What am I on? 6? I took number 6 off. Oh, okay, thanks. So tonight, she reminded me of things. That's why I said she can rub anytime she wants. Yeah. Oh, on in the scroll there. I didn't write it down. I guess I missed it. If you open up that scroll, that's why you got pens, so you guys can take notes tonight. And also, somebody's got written on the heart somewhere. Who's had something written on the heart?
What?
Yeah, someone on the back of the heart, on that scroll. It was with the scroll. Did anybody have something written on the?
Yeah, it says love and respect. It
says love and respect. Okay, right here.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, so. Who? No, that's not it. No.
Over here.
No, he's saying.
You don't feel like it?
Linda Lake, maybe. Says what? Winner? What's it say? Oh, okay. Over here it is. Okay, there you go. Okay, so they just got a couple books. And so we wrote the paper out there so you guys could take notes. You might be going, this is boring, whatever. But you know what? Take some notes. I might say something that comes across with, hey, that's a good thing. I might write that down. I'll probably forget it as soon as I walk out of here. But don't forget to take the paper with you, of course. So anyhow, my back on? Okay, just gotta look to see my wife says give me a thumbs up. Okay, so how many of you attended the following? You've gone through the study, or maybe you've seen the video series. And
Yes.
we're talking about the 5 love languages by Gary Chapman, Love and Respect by Emerson Anchorage, Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage by Mark Unger,
Oh, we've done that one.
or one of my favorites is A Weekend to Remember by Family Life. Oh, okay. You've been? Because that's a good thing, man. I've been a few times. I've been like, I think 3 or 4 at least. With Dennis and Barbara Rainey. Anyhow, well, tonight I'm here to tell you a love story. Actually, it's a picture story. Okay? You guys don't like that? Because, for those of us who enjoy pictures while being wretched, like me, you get it, right? In it, you'll see different parts of what I just mentioned. Love, respect, laughter, speaking different love languages, and having real-life weekends to remember. And some of them are really, hopefully I won't share too many of them, but hey, this could be your story. So while I'm telling it, I would like you to think back to your love story. Now, some of you guys might be just, 30 years, 29 years, whatever it was, 14 days left to go between next month, right? But think back then. This story starts way back in the 20th century, just a few years after the bicentennial of our country. It was in the summer of 1979. She was just 15, a beautiful blonde, blue-eyed farm girl from the country. She was number 9 out of 10 kids. 7 older brothers, 1 older sister, 1 younger sister. She had a very big family tree. Kind of like an old oak. Do you recognize him? Yeah. Hi, wasn't she? She still is, but hey. You can't. Anyhow, he was just 16. A long-haired, hippie city boy. As described by her father. And he lived in a town of 250 people, city. I guess that's big when you live out in the country, 15 miles away. He was number 4 out of 9. 1 older foster brother, 2 older sisters, 1 younger stepsister, 2 younger half-sisters, 1 younger half-brother, and 2 younger foster sisters.
Yikes.
His family tree was really like a bush. It kind of went everywhere. Okay. So I first saw Robin for the first time in the garden digging up potatoes. And she was wearing the normal clothes for gardening, your white Daisy Duke cut-off jeans and a tank top. She had the shorts, nice Daisy Dukes. And it was lust at first sight. I mean, love at first sight. When you're 16, you know what love is. Her brother's dating my sister at the time. That's another story in itself. Those 2. Anyhow, I asked him, I said, hey, your sister's dating anybody? Because, I'm thinking, hey, you hook me up, right? And, of course, he says, yeah, she's dating some rich farm kid, and the other sister's too young for you. So just leave him alone. Nice brother that he was, we never, he liked me. So I had to wait. So all summer long, I ended up working with her other brother, Ronnie, putting up hay, baling hay and on the farms, and then every evening we'd come back to his house for supper. And Robin sat across from me. So basically it was the dad at the head of the table, and then they put me up against the wall over here, all by myself, and then Robin sat on this side of her dad, and then her mom, and then her sister, and then her brother. It was like I didn't have a chance to get out even if I wanted to. And I've always got that funny suspicion that Robin was looking at me while I was eating. So I'd look up, and then she'd look down. And I'd look up, and she'd look, I'm like, man, what the heck's up with this girl? And it was the same when it was time to talk. She wouldn't say 2 words to me. She just, just act like I was a ghost. But then her sister Annette, the younger one, that was too young for me. She's only 2 years younger than Robin, so it's not like that big a thing. But anyhow, she wouldn't stop talking. Matter of fact, she was kind of annoying. Anyhow, so after school started that fall, her brother Ronnie, we had some classes together, and he asked me, "Hey, you want to go bowling with me?" Like, nah, I'm not that good of a bowler. I'm left-handed, and if you get the balls from the bowling alley, they're not drilled right for the left-handers. They're all made for right-handed people, and I just ain't gonna have it. Oh, it's too bad because my sisters and my nephew and my niece was going. You know what? My dad's in the bowling league. I must have bowled out in how many games, Sure. I don't see why I can't go. So, sometime in the middle of that night, my class ring came off my finger and then went on Robin's. And that was September 14th, 1979. And the rest they say...
Got your shirts.
Yeah. Well, when you're blinded by love, you'll wear anything she asks you to wear.
That's a sign of
That
true
wasn't even
love.
our shirts. That was her sister's shirts. Cool. But we have other pictures
That's
of
an
me
actual
spring
biceps,
that we wore matching shirts and sweaters throughout the years, and it's luckily we didn't have one on the night. Anyhow, it's okay. So I had this 3-year plan. First, my plan was to date 3 years, then be engaged for 3 years, and then be married for 3 years before we had kids. This would give me plenty of time to have fun before I mature up and be a dad. Some of you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Mm-hmm. Well, wouldn't you know it? That's not God's plan. It's not always like ours. But I soon gained the trust of her brothers, right? Her sisters and her mom. And her dad's trust, I had to pass a few tests first. Almost like the movie, The first test, can you split wood? I failed this one. How can a man provide warmth for his woman if he can't split wood? You see, because Robin's house only had wood dust burning stoves. So that's the only way they heated their house back in Illinois. So, however, I could make great kindling, and the process ruined some good axes. So it got to the point where they ended up putting me with the ladies stacking the wood into the trailer, and then, because you can't do much of anything, or, you can break the brush off or something, but we took the axe away from you. I said, "Hey, boy, those axes cost money." You got me. So the second test, what are you going to do with your life? That's right, I joined the Navy 3 weeks out of high school. This helps me pass the second test with a C-. See, I got points for joining the military. Her dad was a World War II vet, Army vet. But I lost points for joining the Navy. And all his sons joined the Army, all except for 2 of them, I think. And so it could have been worse, so I could have joined the Marines. Nothing against them. Hey, nothing against them. Robin says I would have got a D for that because he didn't like the Marines. Probably because he was in the Army, I don't know. But I almost joined the Marines, but then that Navy recruiter pulled up in that red Corvette, took me for a ride, said, "You could have one of these days." Yeah, that's me, man. And sure enough, that day is still coming. Test number 3. What kind of car do you own?
Yeah.
Another C-. He was a Mopar man,
Uh-oh.
I bought an 81 Plymouth TC3 Miser. Got 40 miles a gallon back then. It was a Japanese import for Plymouth. Remember, he was a World War II vet? So he still didn't care for anything from Japan. I was for sure, though, that he trusted me with his daughter by now, because I, hey, 2 out of 3 is not bad. So let's fast forward to 1982. I asked Robin to marry me. I'm still on my 3-year plan, right? She knew it was coming. We had picked the rings out of Walmart already. I mean, hey, you know their motto, save money, live better. That's what I was doing. Hey, it's not the ring that counts, right? It's what else. There you go. So here's what God changed my plan. Of course, my son, though, thinking about it, my son said, you know, Dad, you could probably get a lot more mileage out of Mom if you would put a little money into the ring. I'm just saying, that's what I think. That's my son, though. Hey, here's where God changed my plan. 9 months go by, and I realize that I'm not going to make my plan work. See, I'm in Virginia Beach, and Robin's in Illinois, and I'm really missing her. And so, in the end of February of 1983, I had called Robin and asked, "Can we get married by March 5th?" We're only 2 weeks away. I gave her a 2-week notice. She's like, "Yeah, that's not a problem." So, this is when things get a little haywire. I thought they were before, but now they really are. You see, while Robin and her mom and her sister were picking up the wedding dress, me and her dad are sitting at the ends of the tables, you know, just me, it's me and him. He's at one end, I'm at the other end. And he's there, and he's like, "So what's going on this weekend?" I said, you know, because I thought he lost his memory. I mean, he's 64, you know, I'm 20. To me, he's old, you know. I'm getting there now, but hey, 64 and you're 20, you go, "Hey, dude, you're kind of old." And so I remind him that, you know, Robin and I were going to get married, you know. And so then he asked me again, "So, is there anything you want to ask me?" I'm like, "Nope." You know?
Oh, yikes.
He's like, I can't think of anything. Then he asked the question again. "So what did you say was going on this weekend?" I said, "You know, Robin, your daughter, and me, we're going to go get married." And, you know, and he's like, "So is there anything you want to ask me?" "No, I think I pretty well know." I don't need no help. I'm good. And then the third time, you know, "What did you say was happening?" So I said it, you know, slower, maybe louder voice. "Sam, Robin and I are getting married Saturday. And then we're going to go on our honeymoon." You know? And then he goes, "You sure there's nothing you want to ask me?" And I said, "Okay, Sam, I'll play your game. What is it that you want to ask me? You know, what do you want me to ask you?" And he goes, "Don't you want to ask if it's okay to marry my daughter?" And I looked at him and I'm like, "Well, dude, I thought if you had a problem with it, you would have said something by now." Because he's that type of guy. "Hey, look, I don't like it, but I'll let you go right now. Just get off the property, go back home, and don't ever come back here again. If you come back again, I'll shoot you." He's that type of guy, you know. And so I go, you know, so I tell him that. I thought he knew, and then he goes, "Don't you want to ask me? It's okay?" I said, "Okay. Is it okay to marry your daughter, Sam?" "Yeah, I guess so." Let's get the formalities out of the way. Yeah. That's fine. So with that, he goes and says, "Well, I think I'll go out and dig some post holes." And I'm like, "I'm not digging post holes in March out, you know, and they lived on a dirt road, and it was just nothing but hard packed dirt." I'm like, "I'm not digging post holes." He goes, so I told him, "Hey, you know what? I think I'm going to watch some TV. I got an extra pair of coveralls there." I'm like, and I said, you know, I told him, I was like, my coverall days are over, Sam. I said, "Look, I'm in a Navy now. I work with F-14s. You know? And he goes, "Well, I guess we'll go out and dig those post holes in. You have a nice day." And so he walked out and started digging post holes, and I'm looking out the window at him. And then I realized, you know, he's medically retired. He's had 3 heart attacks already, you know, by this time. And I'm thinking, man, something happens to him. You know, we live out in the country. They live 15 miles or at least 10 miles from down, whatever it is. It's pretty far. This was back in 1983. There's no cell phones. You know, there's no 911 to call. You're just stuck. He had a, and so I'm looking out there, I don't want to take post holes. I got to find something else. So sure enough, I go think about, hey, I'm going to go with my car, open the hood up. He's an auto guy. He likes the Mopar. I'll distract him. So I go over there. Of course, it's a brand new car. Open it up, the hood. I look over at him. He kind of looks at me, and I look back down the engine. And he starts digging post holes. He looks over at me again. I look around, look down my engine. Finally, he goes. He puts down a post hole digger and starts walking over. "What's the problem?" I said, "Oh, you know, it's making some kind of noise, Sam. I don't know. You know." "Well, you know, first thing it is, the problem is, what's that?" "It's an import." Back when World War II vet, you know. I'm like, "Okay, yeah, you're right, man." So we He's like, well, turn the engine over, we'll check it out. You know, so the engine's running. There's not a no that thing. Nice. I mean, that probably didn't have 10,000 miles on that thing. And he's there listening to it. We're starting to talk about World War II and being in the military and stuff. And like, oh, please, please, please let Robin get back so we can get out of here. You know, we got family I can visit too, you know. And so sure enough, she shows up and just in the nick of time, okay, well, we gotta go. We gotta leave. Sorry. You go back to taking photos, now your family's here. And I left, you know. So, and then the big photos. That was, matter of fact, I'm glad that. But anyhow, let's fast forward. It's a week now, because that was a week. They got the, you know, we got, it's the wedding day. It's pouring down rain, cats and dogs, I'm telling you. And all I can think about is what I'm supposed to say. I do. I'm standing with my cousin, who's my best man, and he's looking how, trying to look in the mirror and see how sharp he looks. I'm going, what if I say I don't, or no? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, no, man, what if I mess up? You know, what if I'm thinking it's a joke, but what happens?
Oh, no.
You know, he goes, oh, no, you won't. I'm like, no, man, I probably won't even make it out of the county alive. You know, they'll hunt me down. They'll bury me somewhere in the backwoods and I don't even know. I'm like, oh. So, anyhow, I don't even look at Robin, but her dad walks her down the aisle. And I don't realize it, but he's walking her down the aisle. You see how he's got her? He's not walking her down like this. He's got her from the back of the hand like, you're going to marry this guy. You know, he's not throwing you back in. You take, you know, he got this one. That's it. Don't you know, I wasted enough time on these guys. This is the one. You know, I didn't even notice that until after the pictures came out. I'm like, oh, I was too scared to turn around. I didn't, you know, I'm afraid things going to happen to me. Yeah? Anyhow, and then what happens is at the end they announce the bride and groom. Well, it just happened to be the same pastor that married one of my other sisters and my brother-in-law. And so when he introduces us, and my sister's name is Robin also, he introduces us as Randy and Robin Bridgeforth. I'm thinking, well, you know, it's not so bad. He got 2 out of the 3 days right. Hey, I'll give him $20 tip. You know, for marrying us. You know? So our honeymoon, I went all out. We spent one night in Holiday Inn. In the penthouse. It was the 4th floor. You know, it's all as high as it is, right? 4th floor. Their motto is spend less and enjoy more. And that's what I was doing. Of course, the excitement really begins to get going the next morning when Robin and I take a shower. See, you have to understand, let me paint the picture for you. We just grew up just above the poverty level. As a matter of fact, we only had bathtubs in our bathrooms, no showers, right? And Robin was even more poor than me. That's Robin's house, especially the way I remember when I first got down there. They had an outhouse still. It was a 2-holer with a baby hole. So, you know, it was in the backyard. It was there, you know. Of course, by the time I started dating, I only used it for emergencies. You know, they live out in the country. Hey, who cares? But they had no running hot water. All they had was this cold water from the spring. So they would have to heat their water on a stove, you know, and put it in the sink if they wanted to do dishes, or if they wanted to take a bath, they heated up buckets of water and would take it, pour it in the bathtub, and then you get the right temperature, and then hey, that's it, you got the bathtub. So when we get to take the shower, you know, at the penthouse up there, we noticed that the water, you know, of course you take a shower for the first time with your wife. You remember that shower? Yeah, it wasn't like, you know, we're paying the water bill. Hey, man, we're in there for a while. Right? Except when we shut the water off and stepped out of the tub, we realized, wow, I guess the shower curtain is supposed to go on the inside. Right? It's about ankle deep or so, you know, maybe of water. And it's no big sweat because they give you all those towels, right? That's what all those towels are for. Lots of towels in there. We just sit there. Honey, we just soak these up and wring them out. You know? That's what they got them for, probably for people like us. And then by the time you're not doing it. Who is it? Maintenance. Yeah, what's going on? He goes, you guys have a problem with the water in here? No? Why? Well, because the room below you is leaking through the ceiling. No problem in here. So I was in there, you know. Well, we're getting out of here. Get out of here. Luckily, we didn't hit the carpet yet. We're fine. The door was shut, so it stayed inside the bathroom. You know. So then we go to open the suitcase and get dressed, and the first thing we see is, you know, probably about 30 or 40 condoms in there. And I'm thinking, what are these for? These probably should have been for the night before, but who unpacks on the night of their honeymoon, right? Like, you get there, you throw the suitcase up, and hey, look, we don't need to unpack tonight, honey. We'll get that stuff in the morning. So, you know, I was like, oh, well, throw those in them. Get rid of those for now. Anyhow, we check out, no problems. They never call us back, so I'm sure they, you know, that room below was okay. I feel bad for those people. Year 2 comes around. Oh no, our first year, we had no problems. This is because we only saw each other for about 4 weeks out of the whole year. You see, as I was out in Virginia, going out to sea, and Rob was back home, but we had a little trailer we lived in. Well, I lived in for about a week, I think it was. You know, that I called home, and that's where she lived, back in Illinois. It was kind of nice to come home and go, hey, look, I'm on vacation in my own house. And I get to mow my lawn for the first time. So, anyhow, year 2 comes along. We're in Memphis, Tennessee. Robin gets a job waitressing at this local restaurant. And she learns how to speak and translate with a southern drawl, because when she first got there, she couldn't understand anybody at this restaurant. But by the time we left in a year, she was speaking just like me. And, you know, so that's what she learned. I learned that if you go there to eat and you mention that cute little blonde girl is doing such a good job at waitressing, and you're going to leave a big tip, the other people there that you talk to probably leave a big tip too. So I always left a 20. Go, hey, look, I'm going to leave a 20 for that girl. She's great. Every time, almost, you know, hey, I'm going to go there a few times a week. Because, you know, I know she's going to bring back some tips. So, hey, you got to do what you got to do, man. She's making minimum wage. What do you want, right? So remember my 3-year plan? Well, God allowed it turned it out after all. Of course, it's not till year 5 we can have our first big fight and we have our first son. I'll talk about that in a minute, but let me see, make sure I didn't pass it up. Oh, I did pass it up?
No.
Okay. Oh, you know what? Up to having our first child, you know what we would do? We would rent our friends' kids. You know, we had SeaWorld passes, and kids get in free. We'd go over, hey, you mind if we take your kids today? What? Oh, we just went to SeaWorld with kids. We'll bring them back tonight, drop them off. You guys can have them back. You know, that's what we did. We did that for a long time. Hey, you mind if we take your kids? We go do this or that. So we kind of rented out somebody else's kids when we didn't have kids. Of course, it's not to year 5 that we have our first big fight. Being the spiritual leader that I am, right? Okay. I call a leader in our church. Of course, our church is only about maybe 30 people. You know, that's maybe kids included. You know, to get counsel. Of course, he was out of town. So my next option is to call the pastor. And of course, he's never out of town, right? So no problem, you know, come on over. So we get over there, and his parents are there, and they're pastors, or his dad's a pastor. And the first thing he says is, hey, Larry, you guys come over to get some marriage counseling? And so what I read that is, I got marriage problems. Nope. No, we're not getting marriage counseling. No, I don't know what you're talking about. You know? And so enough, we get down there, and the counseling starts off good. Because the pastor and his wife, you know, start talking to Robin, what her role is as a wife and a mother. And I'm thinking, yeah, you better tell her about this mission thing. I'm getting sick and tired of this, man. After 5 years of this, it's starting to change on me. Of course, then they turn to me. And look at me and like, what? What? Me? I got no problems. And then, of course, I found out that I wasn't such a good husband after all. And a leader at that. And so this was where God starts changing us. We go to a home group that is studying on communication and marriage. And then we learned we needed more, so we went to a family life conference called A Weekend to Remember. One of the best things you could actually ever go for. It's kind of expensive, but they have professional speakers, unlike me, and they do a great job. You stay at a cheap hotel and have a good time. Well, there's some things I learned there, and I want to share. First thing is oneness. There has to be oneness in your marriage. It's about two people becoming one. Not two people going parallel to each other. Not two people going, one's ahead of the other one or like that. It's two people becoming one. So that's a big thing. Number two, they teach this over and over again there. Your spouse is not your enemy. You might, I know we get into fights and you think about it and go, oh man, that guy just, every day, just wants to do this to the boat. Or, I say that to Robin, I know you just do this to the boat. Oh yeah, I do it to bug you, Larry. And I'm like, no. And she's doing that sarcastically because she knows, I know, she's not my enemy. And she'll tell me sometimes, Larry, I'm not your enemy. And so, number three, date night, like tonight, right? You must have a date night in order to keep oneness. Our date night is very small. Hot dog and soda at Costco. How much does that cost now? $1.50, man. $3 for there. And you can't beat that. Go in. If you get the right time, you go in there and you don't right? The other thing we like to do is surprise visits. I'm pretty sure I got everybody's address. So we like to do surprise visits to people we know, if we can remember their address. You could be next. You might have been there already. Who knows? I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Dates don't have to cost much, especially if you want to surprise someone just around supper time. There's somebody here just a couple weeks ago, they lived up in Crest, we live in Lakeside, that's not, hey, what do you know? What are you guys doing here? Oh, because they were out there working in the front lawn doing, things on the weekend, and just happened to be, hey, look, I'm here too. And me and Rob pulled up and they go, what are you guys doing? Oh, we're just driving around Crest, and we'd stop by and see, well, we saw your car. Hey, might as well stop by. First time we've ever been there, right at lunchtime, Oh, you guys eat? No, we haven't eaten yet, matter of fact. What do you guys do for lunch? Well, our daughter's going to cook some good lunch. Hey, well, we're good with that. So we sat there and ate lunch, had a great time. Now they're probably going, yeah, hey, we know you. So, it could be you guys. That's a fun day right there. Walk in when they don't expect, the house is there. You haven't seen our house. That's why everybody comes to our house. So the fourth thing, and is to have a devotional together. It's important to pray and have a devotional time together. This opens up the lines of communication, in a lot of different areas. We use this book right here, Moments Together for Couples by Barbara and Dennis Reed. Now we're about, I'd say 90% pretty good on keeping a schedule with it. Right now I think we're getting close to November and it's what, February? But we've been going through it. Usually, when I started moving, started not being able to make it, I started reading 2 at a time, me and Robin will. And I'm going to share something about it later. But you remember, because Pastor Dave just talked a few weeks ago about the 5-5-5, right? Having prayer and having some time together. That's important, that's some stuff. Well, after the Family Life Conference, we realized that marriage was the area that God was going to call us to and be in ministry to. So we're starting to work towards that. Then all of a sudden our first son comes along, right? And he looks so handsome. I wanted to have more. Originally, I only wanted 2, and Robin was agreeing to that. She was open for more, but originally I only wanted 2, and then when he came along, I was like, hey, we got to have more of these guys. They can do some work around here, I came from a hard-working family. Hey. But I had a bad feeling, I was putting too much effort into having them. You see, because I got a hernia and when Robin got pregnant the first time, right? And she tells me she's pregnant again, I have another hernia, I'm like, hey. I said, I think I'm putting too much effort in this, and I'm doing all the work, and then, of course, the second one turns out to be another son. I'm like, yeah, I'm convinced now, definitely. I'm putting too much effort in this. Look, they're coming out boys, and I'm getting hernias. Something's wrong. Robin's trying to convince me, no. So when boy number 3 shows up, and I don't have another hernia, I went and had a physical, made sure, hey, I have to agree that she's right at this point, that, hey, okay, so maybe it doesn't happen that way, but hey, it looked good for me at the time, having 3 kids. By the time our 5th son comes along, though, we're both getting concerned.
So's the older one.
I know. You ought to see him.
So is the older one.
So
Look at his face.
that's his butt right there. So what happens is we're concerned about child number 6, where they have child number 6. Because see, Robin doesn't want another boy. She had 7 older brothers. I don't want a girl at this point because I know I would spoil a little girl, and Robin would probably do the opposite, right? The only girl in the house. Guess what we're going to be doing today? You know, I'm going to show you what woman's work is. I grew up, you know, in the kitchen, cooking, you know, laundry. You know, I know what my mom did. You know, this is what you're going to do. You know, boys are going to be doing the hard work, and we're going to be doing the other stuff. And I'm like, you know.
Oh boy.
So we decided to stop right there. Anyhow, in the midst of raising the 5 godly men, we continue to seek out marriage studies, right? We came across the 5 love languages. They are words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. And they have a test that you can take after you do the study. And we found out some important things about ourselves. First off, Robin's #1 language is acts of service. This means that she loves for someone to do an act of service, like fix her car, remodel the house. It could be anything, you know, just doing something for her. This says, I love you, right? The problem is that I didn't come from that, right? I'm not much into doing projects. I come from the school that you pay a professional to do jobs like construction or plumbing or electrical or automotive. Matter of fact, Errol will come over to my house. He's seen what kind of job I found. I had to convince Robin, look, we need a plumber. I can't do this. I bought, you know, I even bought her a Zoll saw for Mother's Day.
Sawzall?
Birthday? Her birthday. You know, her birthday come up, we're remodeling the bathroom. You know, I need that saw to cut this pipe. And I can't do it with a hacksaw. You know, it just, hey, you know, I convinced you, look. So for her birthday, look what I got you. Okay, good, use it. And so I used it, and I still couldn't finish the job. I'm like, look, we got to call a plumber. I'm sorry, that's the way it is. You know, at some point, you know, I'm a cable guy. Look, you want me to fix your cable? I'll go out and run your cable. I can even look at electronics. But I'm not, you know, in the plumbing.
Apparently not.
And she is. So, anyhow, she feels like you save money. However, I did build, you know, we had a 1-bathroom remodel in our old house. Terry Barrett and my brother-in-law did that. We had the bathroom in our house started remodel. Juan Rivas came over and did it. Now Juan's son and Keith are working on the shower, finishing up the shower, and we're doing the drywall. Because remember, I'm not a drywaller. We pay somebody to do drywall. They get good money to do that, man. I mean, you know, so hey, I'll probably feed Juan some meat, and Keith, he can have some more food or something, right? And anyhow, I did build a set of triple bunk beds for my kids, 2 sets of triple bunk beds. But I had someone cut the wood, sand it, take it down, make me the angle brackets. I bought nuts and bolts and put them together. Yeah, that's good. There, look at that. I did something. So, but look at Robin's least way to hear "I love you" from me. It's physical touch. No, wait. Can you see this? Is the score clear? No. Okay, out of the score of a 12, the highest you get 12. She got 11 on acts of service, and after that they just drop drastically down to physical touches down to the bottom. I think a 2 or something. 0? 1. Okay. So you see, but she's got 11. So 11 out of 12, she's like acts of service. She really says, "You want to show me you love me? Do something for me." Right? Yeah, but you know, I'm not that way. So let's take a look at what happens in mine. Okay. Now look at my love language. Robin says I need a little Larry love language to hear. See, my top 3 are words of affirmation, physical touch, and receiving gifts. They're right neck to each other. I mean, like within a point or 2 from each other. My top 3.
Wow.
right? But you see where acts of service is? It's down there. I mean, it's not zero, but it's close. But these three, you really want to say you love me? You come over with a gift, give me a big old hug, and say, hey, Larry, you're doing such a great job, man. I love you, man. I'll be on cloud 9. But for Robin, when I touch her, stop touching me. You touching me? You're hot. You're
Touching
cool.
me again.
Touching me. Yeah, I can't win. And then we'll be going to work all day. And her words of affirmation, look, that drops drastically from, she's really down when it comes to words of affirmation. For her to say something like, you did a great job. Down, hey, okay. If it's not acts of service, forget it. I don't want to hear it. That's why she likes to serve, because that's the way she says, hey, I love you. I'm going to serve you. But hey, I don't need that. I can hire somebody to do that. So anyhow, back to where we are. Oh, the shirt. You see that shirt there? This is a good example. I wish I was doing this when we were dating. I bought that shirt as a gift for her, right? Because again, one of mine is receiving gifts, and I'm looking for words of affirmation. I thought, that was a nice velour shirt we bought way back in, back in the early 80s. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so,
Looks good.
what does she do when she opens it up? Well, you could have bought me a different shirt. Man, talk about cutting me down. Please. I felt that. I should tell, do you mind if I tell the wallet story? So, I get a wallet for her from Christmas, I think, or something, right? Open it up, and what you're supposed to find when you open a wallet? Money, right? Because that's what people do for these, like $1 or something. I get the price tag. No, $5.69. Thanks, babe. I love you too. I can joke it. I had that wallet, that sticker forever. I even wrote my anniversary in there so I wouldn't forget. March 5th, 1983. I know when we got married. Anyhow, I read somewhere, when you touch someone, it lowers your blood pressure. If you want to go and touch your spouse right now, it might, it relaxes them. Right? There's been a few times I touched Robin so much that I couldn't get out of bed. And a few times I almost passed out. Maybe your spouse needs to touch you. Later on, we went through love, respect, like Emerson Akers. And here we learn about the crazy cycle. This is the crazy cycle, right? Without love, she reacts. Without respect, he reacts. And it just keeps, he reacts without love, and then of course, it goes on, right? The more mature person can stop this crazy cycle, right? Well, that's what we learned there. But the problem is, sooner or later, the mature one doesn't want to be mature anymore. It's kind of like, hey, why don't you get off the crazy cycle? Because I don't want to stop it today. Why do I always got to be the mature one? What? Why don't I? And it goes back to that selfishness again, right? All about me, not being about oneness. So, we learned about hearing, speaking, and pink and blue. Men and women speak and hear differently. Robin says, I don't understand you, you're speaking blue. Of course, I'm telling her, I'm speaking pink. You just don't admit that I can speak and hear in pink. Right? And then we learned about questions asked and how they ask questions. That felt disrespectful. Did I come across as unloving? Or that felt unloving. Did I come across as disrespectful? Of course, we don't say it like that nowadays. When we first started out, it works pretty much like that. But we will say, honey, something wrong? Did I say something? I don't know what's bothering you. She'll do it. This brings me to another thing that I learned over the years. Making up is the best thing ever, man. The boys used to say, Dad, you only disagree with Mom so you can make up. And they were right. I think sometimes I just be bugging her to heck, I go, I'm sorry, son. Honey, come here. I'm sorry. Give me a big old hug, kiss. Come here. It's all right. Come here. I really am sorry. And then, because I was just laying one on her. Then we came across Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage by Mark Gundry. And here's where we learn men's brains are made up of boxes, and women's brains are made up of wires,
Spaghetti.
right? So men open one box at a time, right?
Oh, he's.
All the others are closed. So whatever something he's thinking about, that's what he's thinking about, right? That's it, whatever's going on. Of course, the wires in the women's brains, they can be thinking of all kinds of things and doing something, and it's fine, you know? They can think of 20 things and have no problem with it. So there's one special box that men spend a lot of time in, and it's called the nothing box, where they just think about nothing, right?
Yeah.
That's, you know, and of course your wife will ask you, honey, what do you think? My wife asked me on the way over here. So what do you think? No, I don't want to tell. I have to, you know, after a while you just learn. Oh, you know, I was thinking about tonight. Whatever. You know, I was really thinking about nothing until she mentioned something. And we also learned the way that men differ from women when it comes to math. Men think on the 1,000-point system, and women think on the 1-point system, right? For example, if I buy one rose, it's 1 point. If I buy 2 dozen roses, it's got to be at least 24 points, huh? Or better, you know? But in a woman's mind, it's still 1 point. The same as with if I do the laundry, the dishes, and I take her out to dinner. I think, hey, I'm in it for a few thousand points, right? She goes, oh, that's 3 points right there. Dishes, laundry, dinner. 3 points, that's what you get today. Over the years, we found different ways to show our love to each other. We used to write letters back and forth to each other. Actually, Robin wrote pages, and I would write a paragraph. What would happen is she would write and mail a letter every day while I was out at sea. And she would write at least 10 pages of letter. And then I would wait for all these letters to come, and they would show up, maybe about 10 of them or so, because we would get mail like once every 2 weeks or something. Oh, I got about 10, 15 letters. And I would read through them all, and then I would write a paragraph and send her back something. Next, a couple weeks, Monday. Of course, we used to get in arguments and say, how do you argue with somebody that you're about 3 months, 3 or 4 weeks behind? You pull the report, what's going on? Oh, that's already passed. Oh, yeah. Okay, let's move on then. And so anyhow, let's see. One time, Robin just reminded me this the other day, that one time when I got home, and the boys used to go unpack my sea bag, and they found one of Robin's nighties in there. I have special packages in the mail every now and then for my wife. And they asked, what was Daddy doing with this? And she goes, Daddy needs a security blanket too, Yeah, that's it. So, if your husband has a travel, away or whatever, maybe you can say, hey, here, I want to pack you a security blanket, sweetheart, so don't forget, We tried this shimmy. You got it on the card there, right? It stands for "See How Much I Love You." But by writing on paper, we used to write it in the mirror. When we're taking a shower, you'd see it, or write on a car window or something. Or we had sidewalk chalk, you'd write it there. We'd just write it anywhere we could. So one person would write it, I'd see it. She'd write it, I'd see it, and then it was my turn to go write it somewhere. And then we tried this with a little plastic heart too. But the problem was, as you get older, you forget where you hide things. The other person forgets, and so you're like, man, did I hide it last? And she, well, where is it now? And we haven't seen that thing for years. But we wanted you to have that so that way you could play that little game, see how much I love you. Hide it for each other.
Aw, that's cute.
Okay?
Copies now.
I think to kiss Robin in front of the boys and their girlfriends and their friends that come over all the time as much as I can. To show them that I still love her. And this is what a marriage is like. So we'll be standing there, they might have friends over, it could even be you guys. Who knows? I'd be going, hey, you ever see this? And I'll reach over, and Robin knows, she's over there at the stove, Larry, I'm trying to cook, She knows it's coming. And I'll just reach over and grab her, squeeze her really tight, and bend over and start kissing her. Of course, she wants just a quick peck on the cheek and then go, or lips and go. No, I'm lip locked, man. I want to say let me make sure I'm on the right page here. That someone talked to me about how young looking my wife is. That I married a nice young looking lady. You know, because here's what they said to me, one of the greeters at the church, we're walking on Sunday morning, and they told Robin, well, you could pass for his daughter. So, you know, it's not because I look old, it's because she's so young looking. That's what it is. Yeah.
There you go.
Hey, you know where to turn it around. Yeah. I also heard some wisdom from a friend about a marriage, and this is how, you know, we were there. It wasn't a surprise. It was kind of, well, they invited us over. We went to their party, kind of crashed it in a sense, but it was good. Last night, are we invited? And they said, hey, yeah, your parents can come. Okay, good, we're there. Anyhow, they were talking about part-time, full-time. Now, I don't know if I'm going to get it all right, but I want you to really kind of understand the meaning behind it. Basically, he's saying, you know, if your wife works part-time, then, you know, some things like clean sheets and a cooked meal and, you know, clean house, you know, that stuff can still be done, you know. But if you work full-time, and she works full-time, some of that stuff might have to be outsourced. You know what I mean? Because you can't expect two people working 40, 50 hours a week to come home and go, honey, guess what? What's for dinner tonight? Well, I work 50 hours too. Well, who's going to do the laundry this weekend? Who's going to? But if she works only part-time, and then, you know, you can have some of that at home. Same with, you know, when Robin was, you know, boys, you know, she homeschooled the boys, and to her that was kind of a full-time job. But I remember when she didn't work, I would have a meal as soon as I walked in the door. I mean, I got so used to it. Got off work, I was home, boom, there's dinner sitting already, ready to go. Now, of course, now Robin works what is called part-time, but it's really a full-time job. And, you know, I come home and, hey, I have to call her, hey, what'd you have for dinner tonight? Because I'd like to have some dinner too. And she'll say, you want me to warm that up for you? So, you know, it kind of works like that. So if you're thinking about, you know, if that's a big thing in your marriage, then think about it, man. Is it worth having my wife work full-time, or maybe she can go part-time, or no time she can be full-time home? Because I know for Robin, that's what she wants to do. She wants to be back to full-time home where she can make a meal for me, and I walk in the door, because that's acts of service, right? Look, Larry, I got dinner on the table when you walk in the door. Look, Larry, you know, I moved the furniture this week. I know I liked it last week, the way it went off the Anyhow,
No problem. My shin's healed from last week.
we're a little bit late here, but I want to finish up. I want to finish by reading this devotional that I read. And first I have to tell you the story, though, about I love you. See, me and Robin will say I love you to each other, no matter when we walk out the door. She'll walk me to the car, I love you. She leaves early, I go out there, I love you. Love you too, bye. You know, we're on the phone together. Even if I'm walking in the house and she was calling me right now, before we hang up, I go, I love you too, I love you too. Or she would say it to me. So one day, I'm there at the computer, typing this thing up, and she's walking out, and I usually walk her out to the car, but I'm getting frustrated, so I go, she goes, I love you too, babe. Typing away. And about 2 seconds, love you. I love you too, babe. I gotta go, you know, okay. I love you. Okay, Robin, I love you. Okay, you got it? Can you hear me? I love you. And so then, okay. And then she walks back out and gets closer to the door. One last time, love you. I turn around and he'd scream and yell. Now I'm really screaming and yelling. I love you too, okay? And she knows she's bugging me. And so then she walks out and gets in the car, and I'm back to typing. I'm like, you idiot. You know, why don't you just get up and walk to the car with her and tell her you love her there? Why did you just have to sit? What was so important about typing this thing up for this that you couldn't take 2 seconds out and walk out to the car and say? So I go out there, and she's in the car, you know, and rolls down the window. I love you. I'm like, you just did this to bug me. She's smiling from ear to ear, you know. I just did it to bug you. I love you too. Get out of here, you know. So I was like, oh. So anyhow, I want to read this. It's from September 28th. It's in that devotional, and it's called As the Years Go By. It always starts out with a verse, we love because he first loved us. I have never hesitated to tell Barbara I love her. This is by Dennis Barbara. But I remember one time when I was really especially surprised by her reply. We've been married for a number of years, and perhaps on that day, she wanted actions to back up my words. Because she said, well, I know you love me, but you're supposed to love me. You're my husband. At that time, I was puzzled. But she went on to explain that many things test commitment in marriage. And perhaps nothing tests it more than the passage of years. As we mature and go through various seasons of our lives, it's easy to begin wondering if your husband is really just going through the motions by declaring love for you. And Barbara concluded by saying, when you first married, you declare your commitment and trust to a person you hardly know. Isn't that amazing? You think you know all about this new life partner, but in reality, you probably just see the tip of the iceberg. And as the years go by, you see each other in a variety of situations. You see the achievements and the failures. You raise a family and you experience ups and downs in your career. You struggle through problems with relatives. You develop godly disciplines and perhaps at the same time some bad habits. You encounter health problems. You gain weight. Your hair turns gray. And through all that, as your mate grows to know you more than any other person on earth and vice versa, it's easy to begin thinking, I know you say you're committed to me. Are you glad you're committed to me? Would you do this again? You say you love me, but do you really? You see, many marriages fail because both partners lose their commitment and trust over the years. No matter what struggles you work through, no matter how many heated discussions you have at 2 a.m., and each of you should know that with a shadow of a doubt that you have no escape clause in your marriage vows. Yeah. And in the end, your commitment needs to be based on one thing: your faith in the God who brought you together. That bedrock should be a granite foundation, rock solid and immovable. Now, there's always discussion questions at the end. This one has one. It says, what has tested your marriage commitment over the years? And then there's always a prayer they want you to pray. It says, pray that God would deepen your relationship with Him and therefore deepen your commitment to each other. So that's what I'm ending it tonight. I've got some things I want to announce here before I close, but then after that, I'll close in prayer. And I think that'll be about it, except for the two gifts. So the pions, is I saying it right? Yeah. Stand up real quick so everybody can see you guys. If you don't mind, look around and see what red. Just look for the red and white shirts so you guys know. They're starting a marriage enrichment home group the first and third Fridays at 7 o'clock on February 21st in Santee. They're going to be studying sacred marriage. So if you guys are looking for a home group, that's for married people. That's where we go. Me and Robin and I, we started a home group in March on every Tuesday at 6:30 studying The Marriage You Always Wanted by Gary Chapman. And we'd love to see you in either group. So if you know somebody that maybe needs to be in a marriage group, and say, hey, this one's here's in Santee, we live out in Lakeside. This is on Friday night, they got that going on. That's a good date night to go out and master the marriage and figure it all out. You want to say something? That's okay. Okay, well, I'd like to close in prayer, and then we'll have the two gifts, and we're out of here. Father, I just thank you for this time. I thank you for this time, this love story that I got to share with everybody here about me and Robin. And I know they each have their own, and it's exciting to hear. And I just, Lord, we wouldn't have it. None of us would have that love story without you and your love for us. So I ask that you would bless these marriages tonight, and they would maybe have learned something, had some fun, and got excitement and renewed their energy for their marriage, Father. I ask a blessing over all the marriages here. In your name, amen. Amen. Okay, I finally